Starhawk is a best-selling author and a highly regarded voice within witches circles. She's also a licensed minister of the Covenant of the Goddess. Starhawk defended abortion this way: "It is in our encounter with the mysteries of birth and death that we meet the goddess. So to take away our right to have that encounter through abortion, to face that often painful and difficult choice, is to deny a woman's deepest spiritual self." Susanna E. Budapest is a Hungarian-born witch considered to be the mother of the feminist spirituality movement in the United States. She founded the first feminist witches' coven here in the 1970s, the Susan B. Anthony Coven No. 1, which served as a template for other feminist covens across the country. A prolific writer, Budapest has provided spiritual justification for abortion and offered abortion rituals in her books. In The Grandmother of Time, Budapest wrote, "Abortion is the prerogative of the Dark Mother." Dark Mother is an allusion to the life-taking aspect of the goddess that always accompanies her fertile, sensual nature. Budapest believed abortion is a woman's responsibility, making the choice of life and death as much a part of the goddess as her life-giving good nature. As one goddess-worshipping witch put it, the goddess who whets your appetite with sexual pleasure also whets the knife. Jeanette Paris is author of the books Pagan Meditations, Pagan Grace, and The Sacrament of Abortion. She's a witch who currently serves on the core faculty of the Pacific Graduate Institute in Carpinteria, California. In The Sacrament of Abortion, Paris writes, "It is morally acceptable that a woman who gives life may also destroy life. Whoever kills a fetus commits a murder," which happens to be a fascinating and sobering acknowledgement of a biblical and scientific truth. It is not immoral to choose abortion. It is simply another kind of morality, a pagan one. One can occasionally resort to abortion when it is necessary to sacrifice the fetus to a higher cause. In the book, a woman is instructed to consider the reasons behind abortion. Paris asks, to what ideal or what set of values is she sacrificing the fetus? Her repeated references to sacrifice is purposeful. Her entire book can be summed up as advocating abortion as a sacrifice to the goddess Artemis. Historically, the goddess Artemis was worshipped as a goddess of birth and a goddess of blood sacrifice. Abortion as a sacrifice to Artemis, abortion as a sacrament for the gift of life to remain pure. The post office box of an Aware Woman abortion clinic employee, Veronica Jordan, was the same mailing address for the Open Circle, the Wiccan newsletter, which recruited volunteers to work magic around the property of the abortion clinic. Why then does this newsletter recruit abortion clinic defenders and rally Wiccans for pro-abortion demonstrations? We see frequent Wiccan bumper stickers appearing on cars of abortion clinic workers. The goddess is alive and magic is afoot, and in goddess we trust. One high priestess of a witch's coven explained her support for abortion this way: "It is only in maintaining full control of our bodies that we maintain our full empowerment as priestesses. Access to abortion is truly a witch's issue." In other words, this high priestess is saying that abortion is an essential part of sexual liberation, which is an essential part of the craft. In Power of the Witch, spokeswoman for the Witches League for Public Awareness, Lori Cabot, extols the paganism of the ancient Celtic world, in which fornication, adultery, and homosexuality were normal. The mother goddess cult is presented as a joyous, playful, sensuous, peace-loving culture. Cabot describes the permutation of the mother goddess into an old crone and the horn god into a ravenous animal. Cabot's description closely mirrors the transformation of ancient deities from sensual sun gods and fertility goddesses into demons of ritual human sacrifice. Child sacrifice and abortion were practiced and were accepted as facts of everyday life, the necessary consummation of rampant sexual immorality. What we're witnessing today is a return to ancient fertility rites, when the gods and goddesses of fertility were invoked through ritual sex, and children were the accepted human sacrifice to ensure personal and communal prosperity. We're seeing a growing spiritual justification for abortion, a thinly veiled cover for ritual child sacrifice.
I'm Abigail Seidman, and my mother worked at an abortion clinic in Ohio from when I was 11 to when I was about 17. The staff there frequently wore, Wiccan-style jewelry or clothing in the, Wiccan, sort of witchy-style clothing. The Wicca-style jewelry, goddess jewelry, that kind of thing. Most of the clinic workers wore some kind of goddess symbol or Wicca symbolic jewelry, moons and stars kind of things. Goddesses, Labrys, which is a double-headed axe, which is a symbol of lesbianism. That was a common thing that was worn. But as far as I know, the circle, the coven or circle or whatever, was the abortion clinic. That was the group. They did ceremonies together as a group. There was one woman who annually got pregnant every spring and had an abortion every fall. That was, a big sort of ritual thing that they all did. That's the first I heard about it. As I remember asking my mother, why is she getting pregnant on purpose if she doesn't want to have a baby? And, why is she waiting to have an abortion until fairly late? And why does she do this every year? And my mother kind of didn't want to give me the full answers about those. And a lot of it was, you'll find out when you're older someday. When you've had an abortion, you can understand. A lot of people think the same thing I thought when I was 11 and saw occult jewelry on people. Oh, that's weird jewelry, or that's a pretty thing, or whatever. Learn what these symbols mean. Learn what these, if someone mentions the name of a goddess on something, learn who that goddess is and what she's associated with. That's the best evidence. That's the best thing I can say as far as evidence. There were statues all over the clinic that I now recognize as being Ashtaroth, or there were dragons. Dragon symbology is very common. If you see this kind of stuff, that's the evidence. That's the only smoking gun I can give you, is find out. You have to educate yourself and then draw your own conclusions from the evidence. Tiamat was sort of a Mother Earth type deity, but with a twist. She was the great dragon who the Babylonians said had created the universe, and then Marduk, the god of the sun and the light, killed her and used her body and blood to create the earth and all the life on it. And what I overheard in bits of conversation or had explained to me was that by stealing blood from men, we were stealing men's power back by killing their children. And by feeding the blood to Tiamat as Mother Earth, we would help her regain her strength, and then eventually she would rise up and overthrow the male-dominated world, destroy the current world, and recreate a new world to be ruled by women, which, of course, would be the ideal. This was definitely a, man-hating, women-only culture. They're the ones who are truly pro-abortion. Most people who identify themselves as pro-choice they're really pro-choice. They're not necessarily pro-abortion. They just think abortion ought to be available as an option. These people, the people I'm talking about, this core of abortion-worshipping, goddess-worshipping feminists, believe in abortion as a good. They want more abortion. They want to encourage abortion. They think there needs to be more abortions, that we're not having enough, that it's not doing enough to be encouraged, that it needs to be celebrated.
Women must decide our fate, not the church, not the state. Women must decide our fate, not the church, not the state. Women must decide our fate.
An example of the spiritual deception that so often leads to the trampling of the sanctity of life can be found in a newsletter published by the National Abortion Federation. It provides an account of their 1985 National Convention. One of the speakers was Carter Hayward, an ordained Episcopal priest who's been active for many years in the feminist movement. In her address, she stated, "If women were in charge, abortion would be a sacrament, an occasion of deep and serious and sacred meaning." That an ordained leader of a church that supposedly represents Jesus to the world could describe child sacrifice as a sacrament or holy rite of the church without facing excommunication is a staggering illustration of the collective deception we are now facing as a nation. Several other examples are found in the December 1985 issue of Ms. Magazine, the undisputed leader of feminist publications. This particular issue was completely dedicated to exploring the new emerging spirituality in modern feminism. Much space was given to goddess worship or adulation of the various demons associated with child sacrifice, including Isis and Aphrodite. The central article in this issue of Ms. is filled with testimonies showing the gross deception that has already taken captive much of our nation, men and women alike. The feminist spirituality movement began to emerge in the 1970s and has become one of the largest sub-movements within feminism. It's amorphous, blending in a surprisingly smooth amalgam of radical feminism, pacifism, witchcraft, Eastern mysticism, goddess worship, animism, psychic healing, and a variety of practices normally associated with fortune-telling. It exists nationwide and takes the form of large day-long workshops, small meditation groups, and even covens that meet to work spells and do rituals under the full moon. But to the women in feminist spirituality, witchcraft had an even more fundamental meaning. It's a women's religion, vilified by patriarchal Christianity and now finally reclaimed. Today, we have given the demons of human sacrifice new names. Career, convenience, money, lust, self. But beyond this, we have come full circle. Today's rationalism has given way to a new feminist spirituality that honors these same demons, actually calling them by their proper biblical and historical names. We are witnessing an explosion of books, magazines, how-to manuals, websites, artwork, and the inevitable paraphernalia that accompanies the development of any organized religion. Surely it can be no coincidence that one of the hottest sub-movements within feminism that began to emerge after the Roe v. Wade decision is goddess worship, or that one of the primary deities that is being worshipped is Aphrodite, the goddess of child sacrifice.